the road that shouldn't have been taken. It was a night like any other when I found myself on that road. But I should have known from the moment I set out that something wasn't right. You can always feel it when the air turns wrong. I had no real destination in mind, just driving, trying to clear my head, or maybe escape from something I couldn't name. It had been a long, exhausting week. Sometimes you just need to leave everything behind. I took the long way out, hoping to reach a quiet, empty stretch of road where I could think. But the road seemed to twist and turn in ways it never had before. The headlights of my car illuminated the endless darkness, the only sound being the low hum of the engine and the occasional scrape of tires against uneven asphalt. Then I saw it, a town, a small one, tucked away, almost as though it had been forgotten by time itself. I'd driven these roads many times before, but I'd never seen this place. It didn't appear on any map, nor was it listed in any guide. The sign at the entrance to the town was worn, as if decades of neglect had weathered its surface. The letters were faded, but I could make out the name, Alto Creeks. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. There was something about the place that felt off. The trees around the town were tall, their gnarled branches tangled like the fingers of an old witch. A cold mist clung to the streets, swirling as if it had a life of its own. I slowed my car down, instinctively rolling down the window. The air smelled strange, not like fresh rain or wet earth, more like something decayed, something long abandoned. The silence was overwhelming. No birds, no animals, not even a whisper of wind. It felt like the world had stopped. I pulled over to the side of the road, looking around. There were no lights from the houses, no movement. It was as if the town were completely abandoned. But it didn't look like an abandoned town. It looked alive. Everything was just frozen, waiting. I don't know why I decided to get out of the car. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe I thought I'd stumbled across something I could tell people about later. Some place no one else had discovered. But the minute I stepped out, I could feel the weight of the air. It pressed down on me, thick and suffocating. I walked toward the center of town, drawn like a moth to a flame. My shoes crunching on the gravel echoed through the streets, each step sounding louder than the last. As I walked, I noticed something strange. Every house had its windows covered, draped in thick, dark curtains. Every door was closed, locked. Not a single light shone in the entire town. There was a store on the corner, its windows also covered. A flickering sign in front read, Alto Creek Supplies. The door was ajar. It was the only place that seemed to have some sign of life. I hesitated but pushed the door open. A low bell tinkled as I stepped inside. The store was dimly lit, but I could see enough to notice the shelves were lined with old goods. Cans of food, bottles of dusty medicines, and faded postcards that seemed far too ancient to be of any real value. Behind the counter, there was a figure, a man, tall and thin, wearing a long, brown coat. His face was obscured by shadows, but his eyes were unnaturally bright. They glowed like they were reflecting some hidden light. He didn't move, didn't speak. I stood there for a long moment, trying to gather myself, but the feeling in the air, the unease, was growing unbearable. "Can I help you?" His voice was deep, raspy, almost like it had been pulled from the very depths of the earth. I swallowed, just passing through. Didn't expect to find a town like this. Alto Creeks. I've never seen it on the map. The man chuckled softly, but there was no warmth in it. Few have. There was something about the way he said it that made my heart skip. I could feel my pulse quicken, but I couldn't bring myself to leave. Some force kept me anchored in place. He moved from behind the counter with slow, deliberate steps, like he was sizing me up, assessing my every move. I could feel his eyes on me, never blinking, never shifting. "You'll find what you're looking for in Alto Creeks," he said. His voice was laced with something I couldn't quite identify. But not everything should be found. A chill ran down my spine. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to leave, but the door had somehow closed behind me. I hadn't heard it, hadn't even noticed, but now I was trapped. "Don't go." The man's voice stopped me in my tracks. "You're not ready for what you'll find outside." I was too scared to turn around, too scared to say anything. But somehow, my legs move on their own, my body stepping forward despite every warning signal in my mind telling me to run. And then in the corner of my eye, I saw him, a figure standing in the doorway, just outside the window. Another person. No, not just anyone. His face was pale, with hollow eyes that stared at me like he was already mourning my loss. He was tall, but unnaturally so, his body warped in ways that couldn't be explained by simple human anatomy. His hands were outstretched, reaching toward me, his long, bony fingers seeming to curl around the air itself. The man behind the counter didn't speak anymore. His eyes were locked on the stranger outside, and there was a look of fear in his eyes I had never seen before. I turned to run, but the door wouldn't open. It felt as though something was blocking it from the other side. I pounded on the wood with my fists, desperate to escape, and then I heard it, a low, eerie whisper. "Stay inside or they'll come for you. They always do." I was panicking now. My breath came in shallow bursts, and I could feel my heart thudding against my ribs, threatening to burst through my chest. My hand shook violently as I gripped the door, trying to force it open, but it wouldn't budge. I turned around, my eyes darting back to the man behind the counter. He was watching me with that same eerie intensity, but his face had softened, almost pityingly. "You should have left when you had the chance," he muttered, as though the words were weighed down with regret. I opened my mouth to speak, to ask him what was going on, but the words died in my throat. The figure outside the window, the one who had been standing motionless like a ghost, moved. His limbs jerked unnaturally, like a puppet pulled on invisible strings. He came close to the window, and I saw his face more clearly now. His eyes were hollow, deep and black, voids that seemed to suck in any light that dared to come near. His skin was stretched tight, like a mask that didn't belong. I could feel his gaze on me, even though I was inside. It was as if his eyes were burning into the back of my skull, willing me to move, to acknowledge him. I backed away from the door slowly, terrified to turn my back on him. I didn't know why, but something told me if I looked away for even a second, I might never be able to look back again. "You don't know what you've walked into," the man at the counter continued, his voice a low murmur now, almost like a chant. "This place, Alto Creeks, it doesn't let people leave once they've come." I spun around, my body trembling. "What do you mean? Who is that outside?" The man raised a thin, bony hand to his lips, almost as if to shush me. His face was a mask of both sorrow and fear. "The ones who come Alto Creeks don't leave. They're trapped. We are all trapped here." A cold shiver slithered up my spine. "What are you talking about? You're telling me this is some kind of curse?" The man's eyes flickered to the window where the figure stood motionless, his silhouette barely visible in the mist. He nodded, but it was not a comforting gesture. "Not a curse. It's worse. It's not just the town. It's the people who come here. We're the ones who should have never been brought back." The words made no sense to me, but the weight of his gaze pressed down on my chest, suffocating me. My hands felt clammy, and I wiped them on my pants, hoping to calm the restless panic stirring within me. I took a hesitant step back toward the door, my eyes still locked on the man. I don't understand. What's outside? What happens to the people who stay?" The man didn't answer immediately. He looked out toward the window again, his gaze momentarily distant, as if lost in some deep memory. "The people who stay, they change. They become something else, something worse. And when the sun sets, they come for those who wander into this town. They drag you into the mist, into the void." I could feel the air getting colder, and the low, uneasy hum of tension grew louder. "But I'm not staying," I whispered, more myself than to him. I'll leave right now." The man shook his head slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. "No, you can't. You can never leave. Once you've come in, you are already theirs." Before I could respond, I heard it, a sound, soft at first, like a distant murmur. But then it grew, escalating into something far more sinister. It was coming from outside the store, a low, guttural chant that filled the air. It was too dark, too oppressive. I could barely hear the words, but I could feel them vibrate in my chest, as if they were being spoken directly into my soul. My legs turned to jelly, and I nearly collapsed right there in the middle of the shop. Something was moving outside. The figure had disappeared, but now there were more. Shadows, stretching and writhing in the mist, moving closer to the building. Shapes that didn't belong to this world. And then I saw them. Figures, human but not quite. Their faces were too still, too pale, like masks made of wax stretched too tight. Their eyes gleamed empty and hollow, their mouths frozen in unnatural smiles. They moved in unison, slowly, deliberately, as if they were marching to a rhythm only they could hear. I backed away, heart hammering in my chest. What are they? I whispered. Souls lost to this place. The man answered softly. Those who were foolish enough to wander into Alto Creeks. They've become something else. I stared at him, my mind racing, my body fighting to break free of the paralysis that was gripping me. Why are you here then? If this place is cursed, why haven't you left? He turned his gaze to the floor, a brief flash of sorrow crossing his features before it disappeared behind his mask of stoic calm. We are here because we belong here. Everyone who enters Alto Creeks has a reason to be here, something they've left behind, something they can never escape. I could barely breathe. My thoughts were running in chaotic circles, struggling to make sense of the impossible situation I found myself in. I had to escape. But no matter how hard I tried to fight the panic, I couldn't bring myself to move. The figures were closer now, moving toward the entrance. Suddenly, the door to the store swung open with a deafening creak, the bell above it ringing in the silence like a funeral toll. I froze, unable to process what was happening. From the mist outside, a shadow stepped into the shop, a tall, gaunt figure with glowing eyes. And that smile, that same twisted smile, the figure in the doorway was nothing short of terrifying. Its shape was almost human, tall, thin, its movements unnatural. But there was something deeply wrong about it. The moment it stepped into the store, the temperature dropped drastically, sending a sharp chill through the air that made my teeth chatter. I couldn't look away from its eyes. They weren't just glowing. They were hungry, filled with a deep, insatiable hunger that seemed to claw at the very fabric of reality. Its mouth twisted into that grotesque smile, stretching unnaturally wide, revealing teeth that were too sharp and too white, like something out of a nightmare. The bell over the door rang again, but it didn't make the usual jingling sound. No, this time it echoed, as if the sound had been twisted by something malicious. My body screamed at me to run, but my feet felt like they were glued to the floor. I couldn't move, couldn't even breathe properly as this figure slowly stepped closer, filling the doorway like a shadow engulfing the light. The man behind the counter was completely still now. I thought he would say something, anything, to explain this nightmare unfolding in front of me, but he didn't. His eyes were locked on the figure, his expression unchanged. The creature didn't speak immediately. It just stood there, watching me with an almost eerie curiosity. It was as if it was waiting for something, for me to react, or maybe for me to understand something that I had yet to grasp. You're not supposed to be here. I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper, though it felt like I was shouting. The creature's smile widened. You don't belong here either. It finally spoke, its voice low and gravelly, a raspy whisper that crawled under my skin. The words felt wrong, unnatural. It sounded like it had been dragging itself through ages of darkness, its very voice made of shadows. I took a step back, heart pounding in my ears. Who are you? It tilted its head slightly, considered my question for a moment, as though it was confused by the simplicity of it. We are the lost ones, the ones who walked into this place and never left. We belong to Alto Creeks now, as you soon will. The words hit me like a cold wave. My stomach churned, and the back of my throat burned as if I might vomit. I tried to force myself to move, to run, but my legs felt weak, like they no longer belonged to me. The creature raised a hand, and the gesture was slow, deliberate, like it was savoring the moment. You've seen them, haven't you? The others. They've been waiting. They're here for you now. I turned, my gaze darting to window. The figures from outside had entered the shop, surrounding me. Their faces were even more grotesque up close. Eyes too wide, mouths too stretched, as if their very existence was a mockery to human form. I could feel them closing in on me. Could hear the whispers, soft at first but growing louder until the air was thick with the sound of 1,000 voices, all speaking at once. It was a cacophony of broken words, incomplete sentences, garbled thoughts that collided into one another, and they all spoke of the same thing. Me? They're here for you, the figure said again, its smile never faltering. They've waited for so long. My pulse was racing, my body trembling uncontrollably. I couldn't breathe. The walls of the store seemed to be closing in on me, and the space felt smaller, more oppressive, as if the very town was alive, watching, suffocating me. The man behind the counter finally spoke, his voice barely a murmur. You have to leave. They won't let you go once they've claimed you. But I didn't know where to go. The only way out was to the sea of those pale, twisted figures that crowded the shop, their glowing eyes fixed on me like predators. I had no way of escaping. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I had never been meant to leave Alto Creeks. Why? Why are you doing this? I managed to ask, my throat raw, every word feeling like a desperate plea. The creature didn't answer immediately. It took a slow step toward me, and I instinctively took a step back, but my body didn't obey. My feet remained rooted to the floor. Why? The creature repeated, its voice growing darker, more distorted. Because you're part of it now. You walked into this place, and now you're ours. You, just like the others, are a part of Alto Creeks. Its voice dropped into a chilling whisper, barely audible over the deafening roar of the other figures. And the only way to leave is to become one of us. The walls felt like they were breathing. The air was thick, heavy, stifling. I could feel the oppressive weight of everything in the town pressing in on me, slowly suffocating me from all sides. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The figure was right in front of me now, its hands reaching for me, cold fingers brushing against my face. I could feel the coldness seep into my skin, as though its touch was draining the warmth from my very soul. I closed my eyes, instinctively recoiling, but then I felt something strange. The air around me shifted, and the oppressive atmosphere seemed to loosen. I opened my eyes, and for the briefest of moments, I thought I saw something else, a way out, a crack in the dark, a fleeting glimpse of freedom. But then it was gone. In its place, I saw the man behind the counter. He was standing, eyes wide, frozen in place as though something unseen had gripped him, immobilizing him. The figures had turned their attention to him now, moving as one toward him. I took a shaky step forward, and for the first time since stepping into this cursed place, I ran. But I didn't get far. The mist swallowed me whole. The town dissolved around me, and in the distance, I heard their whispers calling me back. I ran. I ran like I had never run before, like the very ground beneath me was crumbling away, pulling me into an abyss. I didn't know where I was going, didn't know where the road would lead me. All I knew was that I couldn't stop, couldn't look back, or they would get me. The mist thickened around me, swirling, choking me. My breath came in ragged gasps, and my legs were growing weaker with every step, as though they were being weighed down by invisible hands. The town, the cursed town, was still there, but I couldn't see it clearly. It was as if the mist had become a living thing, a predator hunting me, following me. I thought I heard them behind me. Those figures, their soft footsteps on the gravel, their slow, deliberate movements. I didn't dare turn around. The very thought made my skin crawl, my heart thunder in my chest. The town was never meant to let anyone go. Alto Creeks had claimed me, and now I was just another lost soul, wandering in a place where time had no meaning. I stumbled, catching myself against the side of a building, my hands shaking. The old was splintered beneath my touch, the rot seeping into my skin. But I didn't care. I had to keep going. I had to get away. And then, just as I thought I couldn't take another step, I saw it. A light, a faint, flickering glow in the distance. It was the only thing that didn't belong in the town. It wasn't the pale, ghostly light of Alto Creeks. It was warmth, a promise of safety. A way out. I pushed forward, ignoring the ache in my legs, my body screaming in protest. I knew that if I didn't reach that light, I'd never escape. The figures were getting closer now. I could hear their whispers clearly, and they were no longer just whispers. They were calling to me, urging me to stop, to give in. Their voices rose, blending together in a cacophony of madness. But I ignored them, forcing myself to keep moving, faster now, desperate. The light grew brighter. I could see the shape of a building ahead, a house, though it wasn't part of Alto Creek's. This was different. This was real. I was almost there. And then, just as I reached the door, it opened. It wasn't a town, not a shadow or a ghost. It was a person, a woman. She stood there, her features sharp, her eyes dark and unblinking. She didn't smile, didn't move. She simply stood, watching me. The moment I saw her, the weight that had been pressing down on me, the feeling of being trapped in a nightmare, seemed to lift, if only for a second. "Are you here to help me?" I gasped, my voice trembling. Her eyes flickered to the mist behind me, and she stepped aside, ushering me in with a quick motion. "Come inside. Now." I didn't question her. I couldn't afford to. I rushed inside, slamming the door behind me. The woman closed it gently, locking it with a slow, deliberate turn of the key. For a moment, everything was silent. The heavy breath in my chest slowed, my hands no longer trembling. But that peace was short-lived. "Who are you?" I finally asked, my voice hoarse. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned away from me, walking deeper into the small, dimly lit house. "You shouldn't have come," she said, her voice calm, almost resigned. "But now that you're here..." I felt the weight of those words settle over me, and the fear came rushing back. "What do you mean? What's happening to me? Why can't I leave?" The woman paused, her back to me now. She didn't answer for a long time, and I thought perhaps she hadn't heard me. But then, slowly she spoke. "Alto Creeks doesn't just take anyone. It waits. It watches. It chooses," she said, her voice growing quieter with every word. "And now it has chosen you." I stepped forward, my heart racing. "Chosen me? What are you talking about? I just want to leave. I want to go back." She turned around then, and for the first time, I saw the sadness in her eyes. "It doesn't let you leave. Not unless you give it what it wants." I backed away. "What does it want? What do you mean? What do I have to do?" The woman's lips parted in what seemed like a fleeting moment of hesitation. And then she whispered, "It wants you to become one of them." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. The figures, the twisted, distorted faces that haunted me in the mist, the man at the counter, all of it, the town, the darkness, the creatures waiting outside. They weren't just part of some urban legend. They were real. "Then I won't." I choked out. "I won't become one of them. I won't give in." She sighed, the sound filled with sorrow. "You don't have a choice. Alto Creeks doesn't give you that." In that instant, I understood. The reality of it hit me all at once. Alto Creeks was alive, not just in the way that towns grow and die, but in the way that it consumed. It didn't just take your body. It took your soul, your essence, and turned you into one of its own. I felt it then. The pull, the pressure building inside me, like something was clawing its way out from deep within. The figures outside, their whispers, their calls. They had already gotten to me. The woman stepped closer, her eyes softening for a brief moment. "You can't leave this place, but you can still make a choice. You can join them, or you can let them consume you until there's nothing left." I looked at the door, then at her, and back at the shadows creeping toward me through the cracks of the room. It was too late to run. But then, as I took a final look around the room, I saw something in her eyes. A flicker of recognition, a memory, and I realized with chilling certainty that I wasn't the first. No one had ever left Alto Creeks. The end, or is it? What happens when you meet a person you shouldn't? You never really escape.